All right, welcome everybody. We're so excited that you're joining us here today, whether you're watching live or you're watching a recorded version of this workshop. Super excited to have you. My name is David Bush, and alongside of Jeff Bush, we're going to be your guides today and for our future sessions in this workshop series. So, Jeff, welcome to the webinar. You're on mute, by the way. Just muted you. I need to have you unmute.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know who we are and what we do, just a real quick update. Jeff and I have known each other our entire lives, as you can only imagine. And we decided to create a consulting business that was strategized around the idea of helping business owners to grow their profit and scale their business 2 to 10x in the next 3 to 5 years. And you can find more details about what it is that we do at growmyprofit.com. But both of us have a strong passion for being entrepreneurs because we have operated in that our entire lives. We grew up in an entrepreneur home. Our dad owned a body shop, and we had lots of small businesses growing up through our teen years and on into our businesses that we've thrived in over the last 25 years. And we're excited to get a chance to kind of walk you through some of the strategies and tactics that we've used to scale our businesses and grow profit. So our overall view is our 6 steps model that we use. So we guide individual business owners through these 6 steps. And this particular workshop is going to be more focused on the area of marketing. And so we're going to be really dialing in on defining your target audience. But this is going to be the first of multiple sessions. I believe we're going to do 6 different sessions on the area of marketing. And all of the recordings are going to be posted inside of our online learning management platform called Scale University. And I'll put a link with the video description. I'll put a link in the chat so all of you can access it. And this is going to be where all of the recordings are. So when you go into Scale University, you can access the community, you can access the classroom where there's lots of different courses. And then when you open up the individual courses, there's more content. All of these workshops are going to be located right here. You can go to growmyprofit.com/virtual and find all of the information about our online learning platform. But these are great sessions. We get a chance to send our consulting clients over to them. So when we need to give them more strategies and tactics and tools and education, we can just send them over to our online learning management system so that they can watch it at their own leisure. But if you clicked on one of these individual courses in the classroom, you'll get a chance to watch a video and read through different content that we've organized into these different courses. And the whole 6 workshops that we're going to be covering here for these next 6 weeks are going to walk through these questions and help you to answer important questions that are going to help you to improve your return on investment, improve your marketing strategies and your lead generation. And it all is going to start off with this first session, defining your target audience and how to find and attract them. And we're going to break down specific steps that you can take. We're actually going to walk you through in kind of a workshop setting. And while you're actually doing the work, we're going to be walking you through that. And, Jeff's got a 30-year history. I'm aging him now, but 30-year history of writing amazing copy, helping individual businesses to find and attract their target candidates and helping them to create irresistible offers so that they can be very profitable with their marketing dollars and their marketing budget. And the final 3 sessions, I forgot to move it on here, Jeff, but we're going to talk about different strategies and tactics that you can use. There's lots of different marketing strategies online and offline that you can leverage. Maximizing your budget, systematizing your marketing, and making it to be where it's almost on autopilot. So you have an annuity stream of new incoming clients. Today, we're going to be dialing in ideal client profile and taking in some Q&A. If anybody has any questions and you're live on here, put it in the Q&A. If you're watching this as a recording, you can put it into the comments and we can return and answer those questions in the comment section of the online learning platform. But Jeff, these questions that help business owners to really dial in their target market, it's extremely important because you've said many times the right person or the right list is so crucial to developing a high return on investment. You want to talk about that for just a moment and give a little bit about your background and why you think that the targeted list or the target market client profile is so important?
Yeah, I think that the best definition of marketing I ever got was marketing makes it easier to sell. And that always told me that sales is more important than marketing because sales is bringing in revenue. Marketing is spending money, right? But good marketing brings in a lot of revenue. So marketing makes it easier to sell. And then you hear a lot of companies talk about product market fit, like what's our product and who's our market? I mean, that really is who's the list of people we sell to that are most likely to need our product, want our product, we're going to solve a problem for someone. So you really have to identify what problem do you solve if you're in a business, right? Um, and then find out where's the best list of people that have that problem that I could solve. So getting the right list, I mean, whether that list is LinkedIn addresses, home mailing addresses, email addresses, Instagram handles. I mean, the list is endless now. What TV stations they're watching, what radio they're listening to. So list, offer, and then kind of the delivery. What are you going to use? Are you going to do TV, radio, direct mail, email, Instagram, Facebook? So there's so many different medias to use, but getting who's my target customer, what problems do I solve, and how do I find those people? And I always say a good list is really about good timing. Um, the problem might have just come up and then you're there. You got to be there when the problem shows its face. So then people connect you with solving this problem that they just ran into. um, I remember, I just got my $1,200 electric bill, and then the next day the solar offer comes. Go solar, wipe out your electric bill. I mean, there's kind of an example of a good list is you know good timing. Finding the timing can be challenging. You might have to work on finding the right list of people.
Yeah. And when you're sometimes when a business owner feels like that they know their target audience, but their target audience really isn't that targeted at all. Like you had an experience where when you own a mortgage company, you talked about having a targeted list where you're going after mortgage companies and trying to offer them your direct mail services. But that was not really your target audience. You want to talk a little bit more about how your initial target audience became a whole lot smaller?
Yeah, when I first started my mortgage direct mail marketing company, I'm selling mortgage companies direct mail. I know there's 100,000 mortgage companies in America, so I'm thinking they're all my target, right? Mortgage companies. I'm a niche. But what I figured out, it took me about 2 years to figure this out, is that 90% of all mortgage companies will never buy direct mail because their mortgage companies are set up where their loan officers go out and knock on realtors' door and they bring donuts and they go, hey, let me work with your buyers and do the next loan. So they work on purchase loans, which is not direct mail. So my 100,000 mortgage companies trimmed down to 10,000 overnight 2 years later, when I figured out these guys are never going to buy my product. They don't generate leads for incoming calls for their company. So I figured that out. And then I took it even further and found out the 10,000 mortgage companies that did call centers, some of them spent 300 grand a month on the radio, $1 million a month on television, and they were never buying any direct mail. So I actually took my 10,000 list down to 1,000. So I had the 1,000 companies. And the way that I did that is I found a service that was scanning direct mail, and it was a subscription, and it was like, I think it was 5 grand a year, and I could find the actual direct mail piece that mortgage companies were doing. So I had a list of 1,000 mortgage companies that were buying direct mail. When I took my 20-person sales team and gave them all 50 people to call, we had massive penetration in landing those customers. Out of those 1,000 customers identified, I think we probably sold 500 of them over 8 years. And that brought me $20 million in revenue, $4 million in profit, and a big exit because of that. So product market fit, the right list, the right offer, that was just so crucial. And it sometimes takes a couple of years and a lot of research. Where can I find these people? How do I know who's likely to buy my product? So that was, the direct mail advertising companies selling to mortgage companies. But I can flip that to business to consumer and say, when I owned a mortgage company and I was spending $200,000 a month on direct mail, who's my target customer? My target customer had a little bit below perfect credit, let's just say a 640 FICO score. So when I figured out I can go into the credit bureau and target people with a 550 to like a 680 credit score, I was able to cut America from 350 million people down to the 50 million homeowners in America, and now the 1 million people that had a credit score 550 to 680. And so I'm choking down, choking down, choking. I'm getting to my target audience in the business to consumer world. Um, and now I've got a wedding business and I go spend 20 grand on wedding bridal shows and I go around Southern California, Del Mar, Orange County, Anaheim, Disneyland, and I do like 10 bridal shows and I figure out when I get to the bridal show in the booth, just talking to the customers, oh, we're at the bridal show to find a DJ and a photographer. We already decided on our venue 3 months ago. Good data is good timing. I missed the boat. Half the people at the show already decided on a wedding venue. So I'm like, I'm late to the party at this trade show. So I'm going to go get another list, like when they're going to pick out their dress or when they go get an engagement ring. That's when I've got to hit them. As soon as they get the engagement ring, they're out looking for a venue. That's so the timing and finding where are my brides? Where are these? So I figured out on business to consumer, the wedding side of it. So there's three examples of targeting a list and working through that as fast as you can to find your target audience.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's coming from an experienced marketer, experienced entrepreneur, is that you could tell that Jeff was feeling his way forward. If things didn't necessarily happen with a particular audience, he continued to refine down even further and investigate, and he became a an investigator or a detective of where was he going to find his best targeted candidates. And I just posted a link in the description of this video or in the live chat for those people that are watching live to our business optimizer tool. And this particular tool is a resource that we've created that provides lots of different opportunities for you to put information into it that helps you to gain clarity, focus, and direction. So we have a business assessment you can do where you can kind of assess yourself on a scale of 0 to 100. You can get in there and write out some personal goals, your mission statement, your 5-year vision plan. You can do time blocking. But the thing that we're going to talk about today, more specifically, is that we're going to be working in the area of the ideal client profile. So if you scroll over and you find the link right here, you'll see that there's these tabs down at the bottom. There's a section where you can type in your answers to each one of these individual questions. And today we're just going to be walking through those questions, and I'm going to be asking Jeff to join me in giving some feedback on each individual question, because your answers to these questions are going to help you to find your target market. And when you find your target market in the pains and the problems that they have, or the pleasures and the passions that they have, you're going to be able to better market to them. So let's jump right into it and talk a little bit more about the specifics of defining your target market. So big picture, Jeff, I mean, you got to gather data. You got to know, what kind of demographic information you need to collect, psychographic factors, needs, wants, and desires. Communication preferences is another one that we can clarify. Where's your typical target market or target audience typically communicate? Because if you're not using preferred methods of communications, you're likely going to miss the opportunity to communicate with them. For example, if you have a younger market and you're trying to use Facebook as an opportunity to communicate, you're probably not going to have as much connection success as if you use Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or some of the other different options. Behavioral patterns is another one, but a lot of opportunities to gather data, Jeff, but on a kind of like a short to the point, if you're just talking to an entrepreneur business owner, what are some of the big picture things that you would tell them? If you don't do this, you're basically wasting your marketing dollars and your time because you're not doing the work that's necessary to target your ideal client profile.
yeah, I mean, I've said it already, but I was big on data. I sold data, I bought a lot of data, and I'm going through these lists, and sometimes I'm buying data with phone numbers and just calling people and figuring out what do you want? What do you need? What would help you, what would make you buy from me? I mean, conversations, I think that helped to have a sales team in weekly meetings. Hey, when you talk to our customers, what are they saying? Is that the right customer, not the right customer? Was that the right trade show for our business? Was that our target audience? But understanding, who they really are. And, another thing I'm just thinking of when I stopped selling clients and I started selling my employees on coming to work for me and staying working for me, don't leave. You're going to make a lot of money working here. I mean, I hired 20 salespeople. We had to identify our target audience on salespeople. Like, what's the most important trait of working here? Well, you got to be willing to pick up the phone and cold call, and 80% of salespeople won't do that. So I'm already cutting the salespeople down from, the 80% to 20. And then another thing we learned about target audiencing, building our 20-person sales team, was one of the most important things was that they were teachable. So if they came in and told us how they were going to do it and wouldn't follow our plan, so we started designing interview questions about funneling out salespeople that just weren't teachable. You could tell they knew it all. They weren't going to listen. Finding out if somebody's teachable. I remember that was one of the most important parts, because if they were teachable, we had a system in place. We had the right data. We had the right list of potential customers. So if you do this, this, and this, you're going to have success here and make money. And if you follow our plan, if they didn't, so it even gets down to like building the sales team within my own company. Who's the list? Who's our target customer? Who's our target salesperson that can sell this product? And I don't know. So it can go inside your own company.
Yeah. So hopefully some of you have already taken away some notes, and if you have questions, please use the group chat feature so that we can answer those questions. If you haven't downloaded the Business Optimizer, you can do that, or you can just write down the answers to your questions as we navigate through this particular section. So let's go on to the actual questions and start walking through them. So the very first question is, what demographics best describe your ideal client? Jeff talked about this, and he used buying a list. Some of you may just be making a list, but either way, you need a list. You need to start identifying who are the people that are going to be the best market for your products and services. So age, gender, income level, education. This is some of the demographics and some of the psychographics. Anything there, Jeff, that you would say would be helpful if a person was going to go out there and buy a list, or start thinking specifically about qualifications? Is there anything that you would be able to direct them to when it comes down to list building or list buying?
I mean, I would get a good list broker and just find out, hey, when I put these selects into the data, does it cut it down from 10 million people to a million? And then what happens when I add this? It takes it from a million down to 100,000. And I might be trying to get a list of 10,000 people that are most likely to buy my product, right? Something when you raise question number one, like gender, we did something interesting. We had 500,000 homeowners with below perfect credit with a lot of equity that had credit card debt, and we're trying to direct mail them to get them to call us to refinance their house. And most of that data would come with head of household, which was back, 10, 15 years ago, probably 80% male, 20% female. But what we found is we parsed out the data, separated man's name, woman's name, and we started mailing both of them. And we got to the point of where sometimes we'd mail a pink envelope to the woman and a blue envelope to the man. So we started doing gender marketing, which was interesting. And we got a lift in response rates. So diving into gender just made me think of that, like parsing out the data, marketing a little different to males and females. I got to be careful what I say in this day and age. Geez. Marketing to its, I don't know how that works. But it was interesting because we got a lift in response by parsing out the data versus, male and female. So just, again, just always pressing forward, trying to get a better list, better targeting, the right offer to the right person at the right time. That's what I'm thinking about. I know Sue's on the call, and I want to say Sue has something to do with like events, and people coming and maybe I think renting the property, doing conventions and events. And I bought this house. It's a 9,000 square foot house on 1.5 acres, waterfront, Lake Elsinore. It's a $2 million house, and the guy was bringing in like 100 grand a year in rent, and I got it up to $250,000 in rent because I went after people that were doing family reunions and people doing like seminars and targeting the audience for my short-term rental, renting it out. I mean, yeah, I took the price from $1,000 a night to 2,000 a night, but then I'm out there looking for my audience. And one time I had a solar company say, "Hey, the solar company's in Utah, and we're going to do like 50 solar installs in Southern California, and we're looking for a place to stay." So I put 40 solar installers in my house. I think they paid me like $36,000 for like 2, 3 weeks. And that was the biggest rental. And then as soon as that happens, I'm like, go find all the solar companies or traveling companies where the installers are going to be in in Southern California. And that led me to a whole list of like I can't think of the titles, like travel directors, like finding people that were in charge of corporate travel and connecting to them on Instagram and sending posts. And then I had a couple churches rent the house out for like men's retreats, um, women's retreats. So I got a list of all the churches in Southern California and I mailed them a postcard. Hey, come do your church retreat at our house. And I got a bunch of business. Calvary Chapel spent $16,000 to bring 50 kids, the youth group, to my house. So list, offer, the right timing. Um, some of those churches called a year later, but they kept, this is a great house for doing youth group, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So list, offer, um, and media, what do you use in direct mail, email, Instagram, all of it, probably. I use all channels,
Right.
I never was big on
Testing.
TV and radio because I couldn't target too good of a market. But nowadays with Pandora and internet radio, you can actually target. I remember a lot of the mortgage companies would go on KFI, Southern California, like AM radio, which was crazy. But a lot of business people, self-employed, would listen to the business news stations, and that's who they were looking for because they had a loan for self-employed people, where
Mhm.
other people had a hard time doing mortgage loans. So they'd be on the AM radio. Those are just different ideas and things I've seen through the year.
Yeah. Some of you have already been working ahead on question number two, which is what are the primary pain points or challenges your ideal clients face that your business can solve? One of the big ahas for me in the business world was that people will do 10 times more to get rid of a problem or a pain than they will to do something that brings them pleasure, which made me like scratch my head. I thought, man, why wouldn't people be just as motivated to gain pleasure as they would to get rid of pain? Um, but most people are going to be more motivated to get rid of pain. And if your marketing is addressing more pleasure and not pain, you're probably not going to have as much of a response rate. Not to say that you can't connect with people around the area of pleasure, but start with pain. Start with the challenges your ideal clients face that your business can solve, and start thinking about how you can use those pain points or those challenges as ways to start conversations and to connect with people. Jeff, anything you want to say about that?
On number three specifically,
Number two or three.
um, I mean, pain points. What problem do you solve? You got to figure out what their problem is. Um, Once you identify what their problem is and how you solve it, sometimes we go to work a little bit on the product to better solve their problem. Like,
Mm,
Jeff, you made my phones ring off the hook, but my sales reps didn't do a very good job on the calls, so we didn't have good conversion. So I will record every phone call and send it to you so you can listen to the conversation. I now I'm solving two problems. I'm solving, hey, the phone's ringing. We need leads. We need our phones to ring. But now I'm solving a sales management training issue, and sending them call recordings. That cost me $50, and I probably sold it for $300. So fat margin, client's happy, I'm happy. So sometimes the pain points, you change the product around a little bit to solve more problems. Does that make sense? When you
yeah.
hear the problems they're having, that's go
And
back
it's
and change it.
oftentimes not necessarily the topical pain that's the most painful. It's the pain behind the pain or the problem behind the problem. So, you know, having more sales wasn't necessarily the problem. It was training the salespeople. That was the real problem that the business owner had. And the other thing is that where do they spend time? thinking about which platforms or where you would best target your target audience. Are they on a particular platform more, and maybe doing some research around individual platforms or blogs? Jeff has an opportunity where he has a business around farm animal tours, where he has 100 animals on his property, on his 40-acre ranch in Southern California, and they do tours there. And they've been marketing on all kinds of different platforms. And Jeff, you want to just talk about one situation where you've got one opportunity and it created a lot of more new business for you because you found where people were at online and you sent a message through that one particular target audience?
Yeah, so we have 40-acre property. I think we have 112 animals on the property now. And we
They
opened
keep
up,
duplicating.
oh geez, they have babies. Geez, 40 sheep goes to 80 in a year, you know? So yeah, like 80 sheep and
You
goats
aren't
and
building an
pigs.
ark anytime soon, all right?
I'm thinking about it. Might need some ranch hands over here to build the ark. Um, so we launched Huck Ranch Farm and Animal Tours because I'm spending $2,000 a month on feed to feed all these animals. I'm like, I'd like to bring in $2,000 or $3,000 just to cover the feed cost. That'd be great. And so I opened it 6 months ago, and we advertise it. Where's the right list? People that love alpacas, we've got alpacas. That's a good list. Go find them on Instagram. Find them on Facebook, bird watchers. So I start identifying the list. So we're doing like 3 or 4 tours a month. And then I find on Instagram, there was a lady who said, I've got 30,000 followers on, I don't remember if it was Facebook or Instagram. I think it was Instagram. And it's called Things to Do in Murrieta. So I paid her $250. She comes over here, films a video of all of our animals, posts it on her channel for $250. I got like 25 tours in 1 week. It was unbelievable. The power of the right list to the right offer. Things to do in Murrieta. Come tour the ranch, spend $40 and spend an hour and a half here seeing all the animals, feeding the animals. So the right list, the right offer. And now all those people that toured, of course, are sharing socially. So we're still getting a lot of tours off it. Um, yeah, another thing that I do in business is look at other businesses. We just found a business that had, let me think about this. They did 300 tours from January through May with an average of 7 people per tour. So 2,100 people paid $20 to come tour just the alpacas. And I found out about this and I went and toured their alpaca ranch like a year ago. And I said, hey, if you ever decide to sell this, I'll buy it. So we just bought the alpaca hacienda for not a lot of money. And it came with a 7,000 customer list that I'm starting to email right now to show them that, hey, we moved from Temecula to Murrieta. So I just finished buying this thing. And it's like, oh my God, for 7,000 customer list and 300 tours in 5.5 months. So look at if you can buy a competitor, and sometimes it's like seller financing, it's just a monthly payment, doesn't really cost you anything. So I'm big on making acquisitions of people that might want to get out. Right now, they said there's more baby boomers trying to sell their business than ever in the history. The kids don't want to take over the business, so there's a lot of opportunity. And if the seller will finance it and you just make a monthly payment and break even for a year and then it's all profit. So I'm big on if you can make acquisitions along the way or partnerships, you got to look at that too from a marketing perspective. So
Yeah. Well, next up, question number four, are what are the key interests, hobbies, or lifestyle characteristics of your ideal clients? And again, if you're having a hard time answering this question, it's probably because your target audience is too wide or it's too generic, which means you don't necessarily have a target audience, you have the general public. And so it's going to challenge you to dive down deep and to come up with more answers to these questions. What are some of the common values or beliefs that are shared by your ideal clients? They say that your vibe um, attracts your tribe. And so there may be certain things that you highly value that are going to be a key unique value proposition that's going to make people want to do business with you. I personally love to eat at Chick-fil-A. They don't have their restaurants open on Sunday. Um, I love the fact that they have stood on some values to not be open on Sundays to promote more time with family. and they've become one of the most profitable restaurants around the world. They've not, I think they have like 10 times profit per restaurant than what most fast food chains have. So again, if that is something that you don't necessarily believe in or that you don't value, it may distinguish us as being not a good fit for what it is that you're working on. And that's okay. There's lots of business consultants out there. But one of the things that we value is we value people, we value relationships, we value trust, we value honesty. So those things are going to be very important to us when we're out there seeking out other types of clients. What motivates your ideal clients? What are some of the purchasing decisions? Are they more focused on price? Is it quality, convenience, status? I mean, some people are going to buy certain things because of how other people are going to perceive them. I don't know, Jeff, anything you want to talk about as it relates to what motivates an individual client and how to become a little bit more aware of what our target audience is inspired by?
I was just reading an article about the new CEO of Ferrari. He took over Ferrari a year ago and the stock price doubled. Ferrari sells 13,900 cars last year. I don't know how many Ford sold. Is it 300,000 or 3 million? And Ferrari's worth more than Ford right now. It's crazy, right? And he was just saying, hey, we're not really a car company, we're a luxury company. And everything's branded for more luxury. And it's kind of interesting. So price, quality, convenience, status. I mean, I just thought of that because I just read that article about the CEO of Ferrari, and how he's doubled the value of the company by figuring out they're not really a car company. It's more of an exclusive group and a club, and they market it that way. And they make you go on a waiting list to buy their cars, right? So it's kind of interesting to look at that. I was thinking for like Marshall, being he's a financial planner, he probably wants to go find clients that have $1 million to invest, to build his portfolio. And where do people hang out that have $1 million to invest? If they got $1 million in the bank and they're making a 7% return, 70 grand a year, maybe it's enough to stay retired. I know they golf a lot, right? So the country clubs, golfing, they own planes, they own boats. So how do I get around those people, not just for networking, but and especially if you're a golfer and you like to golf, you can kind of tie some lifestyle things in. But maybe you run a little ad in the country club magazine, and that kind of gets your name out there. Not like you're going to get a lot of calls, but join those groups and build those groups. And build your database of, maybe email addresses or cell phone numbers, and send a little communication, a little video out. Maybe you're filming at the golf course that they're used to golfing. So it's what they say, familiarity breeds content. So I'm familiar with that golf course. This guy's on my golf course and he's filming a video about finance. So he's part of the club, join the club. Maybe that's more of a networking thing, but I'm looking to go big. I might be at 5 golf courses and try to meet, everyone, and build that database, and then continue to drip on them. So when their financial planner drops the ball, you're there.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like Harvey Mackay writes, what was that? Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive, a book I read in the 80s. It's funny, Harvey Mackay owned $100 million envelope company. So I'm a direct mail guy. I'm buying 10 million envelopes a month. So I didn't figure out till 20 years later, oh my God, I buy envelopes, and he sold envelopes. I'm surprised I never bought from him. But Harvey Mackay used to say, I've got 100 prospects where I'm the second choice. And I build that database and I stay in touch and I email. And he had this crazy customer worksheet that talked about, is he married? How old are his kids? He had this customer profile that's in one of his books that he knew so much about him. He connected with them. But he goes, I got 100 people where I'm second in line to get the order. And every month, 10 sales reps drop the ball and I go pick up those accounts. And that's how he built a $100 million envelope company 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
anyways,
McKay 66 is what he called that
that's
client
right.
profile, and it had
66
66
things about
different
the customer.
questions, and all of those questions were part of the salesperson's responsibility to go find the answers to those questions. So, what are their kids' names? What are their hobbies? Where do they like to
Birthdays.
travel to?
Yeah.
Birthdays, anniversary, and when the salesperson left, the profile stayed. So the next
Right.
person in line that took over the account knew all of this buying information around their audience. And, that's going on to question 7, and then we'll open it up for some questions. who are your current satisfied clients and what commonalities do they share? So if you were to take your top 10 clients and put them in a room, what would be the commonalities? What would be the differences? And not to say that it would be easy to put them all in the same room, but if you did, you know, go outside and look at what kind of cars would they have driven to get there. If they took a car, would they have to take a plane? Just play out the storyline and begin to identify the common factors or the common denominators in all of your clients that are your best clients, most satisfied, most profitable, lowest maintenance, lowest pain in working with them. And you're probably going to find some commonalities that are going to lead you to your best target audience. One more, and then we'll go for some questions. If you have questions, please make sure that you put them into the chat, or we'll just call in a few people. What are the geographic locations or regions where your ideal clients are concentrated? Again, I know that some of you can do business in many different areas, and you may travel to go to those areas. But if you could pick the geographic locations and regions where you could dominate, like start off with a small puddle. What's the puddle that you could actually dominate? So Augustine is got a roofing business in Houston. Well, he may not be able to dominate the whole state of Texas because there's a lot of roofing companies in Texas. But if he chose a particular suburb and he could become the dominant roofer for that particular area, he could dominate the puddle and he could expand to a pond and then he could expand to a lake and then he could expand to a bay and he could just continue to grow his audience and grow his opportunities and his recognition in the marketplace based upon dominating one small area and growing. And I know that that's not what a lot of us try to do. We want to just say, well, we can serve anybody from any different geographic location, but that what's the word? It diminishes or it waters down our impact. And so, with that final question, we're all halfway through the questions. And so, Augustine, any of these questions really stepping out or really impacting you? Are you finding any clarity as it relates to your roofing business?
Yes, absolutely. I think the demographic and even just the data, I have to agree with Jeff. The right message at the right time to the right person is 100% right. Um, just the one about the lot. Actually, I was taking pictures of them because realistically, all of them really bring clarity. I really think that I need to sit down and take time because what's happened to me is um, we're getting a little bit of business from everywhere, and uh, sometimes we get really busy, but then at times it slows down a lot. And so I was thinking, how can we do stay constant all the time, not just, some of the time. So our business is seasonal, but really for me, all of the different questions, I mean, I'm thinking gender, my mind is just going like, I know who I can sell easier to. For some reason, I anyway, it's easier for me to talk to other men and get things, when it comes to sales. And I realize I need to fine tune some things when I'm dealing with women and just different things. So yeah, that
That's great.
to me, every one of those questions really brings clarity, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting those answered for my own business.
I was
Wonderful.
just thinking about something, David. Solar City was the biggest solar company in the world. Elon Musk's cousin owned it. They were doing like 5,000 installs a month at one time. I mean, it was unbelievable. Where the next biggest competitor was doing like 1,000. They got so big. And one of the things they would do every time they would install solar on someone's house, they would plan a solar reveal party and invite all the neighbors. Like these people were so proud that they went solar and they're helping the environment and they made the investment. They don't, I don't have an electric bill anymore and you do. I mean, they were so proud of it. They would invite their neighbors and they would do like little hors d'oeuvres or something. And 10 neighbors, the nosy neighbors, would come over and they'd kind of demo. And they go, Jeff, for every one customer, we might have spent $5,000 on marketing to get that $30,000 solar install, but we get three more of the neighbors and we leave our trucks sitting on the street for extra days and drive them and park them down the street because people see, oh, Johnny's going solar. peer pressure. I've got to go solar, and he's using that company. Let me go see if they did a good job. It was an amazing marketing strategy of while they're doing the install and the party afterwards and leaving the vans on the street with big phone numbers. And of course, they would go door knock the whole neighborhood. Hey, we're already here. We could do your solar, save you some money. The right list, the right offer, the right timing. It was pretty wild. Solar City was, gosh, spending $1 million a month on direct mail with me, but I would watch all their other marketing that was working and try to. So I put a picture of their van on the street saying, hey, our solar team is doing an install in your neighborhood next week. Call us. You could save some money by doing solar at the same time. And that every solar install, I would draw a little circle and direct mail market all the people on the street. And that was an idea that worked pretty well for them. So
That's great. How about you, Marshall? I know that last week we went in and spent some time on your ideal client profile. You've had a chance to work through some of these questions. Been your greatest takeaway so far?
My greatest takeaway is it's it's always hard to narrow down. I never want to eliminate and say, well, I can't help those people. But in order to narrow it down, in order to actually find good data, I have to have a target. Otherwise, it's not helpful at all. It's way too overwhelming. Um, so obviously the things that I do for my job, there's a number of things I can do, but when I narrow it down, then the first thing was identifying a problem, right? Because there's 100 different problems that I could solve, but if I identify one problem and say, okay, who has that problem the worst, and how can I help that the best, better than anyone else, then um, then I could answer the rest of the questions in order from there. But it's almost like I could start there with a number of different markets and answer them all differently, and then start over with a number of different markets again. So
That's
anyway,
great.
that was my finding.
That's great. Yeah, and
I
just
was just thinking, I was at a restaurant the other day, and one of my wife Tiffany's friends came out to me. And she's like 50 years old. She's like, Jeff, I've been like dead broke my whole life. I've always been on like the cheap insurance, like Obamacare. And she goes, but my dad is leaving me $14 million, you know, and it's all starting to come in. I don't know what to do with this money. And I'm like, dang, how do you find somebody like that? Like kids that are getting ready to inherit money that don't have a clue about financial planning, money management. She goes, but now I'm making all this money. I got to go get insurance, like regular insurance. It was just a really weird conversation. So somebody that needs a lot of help where you could solve their problem, looking at children that are getting ready to go and get an inheritance and they want to do something with that money to make an income. How do you find those people? I mean, I have some ideas on that, but sometimes I scratch out 10 different ideas of finding my target customer, and then I work maybe for an hour on each one of the 10 things and just make some phone calls. Could I find that list of people? How could I market to them? And it's like, okay, 10 hours I invested, probably two or three are going to be winners, and I'm going to go implement two or three, and one of them is going to fail, and two of them are going to work, and I just go make those bigger. But if you invested 10 hours in marketing your business to make it easier to sell, that's a good investment of your time. It's amazing how many people won't spend the time trying to fine tune their market and go get the data, look at some reporting. People are do analytics in every business now. How many people are traveling to your state, coming from another state? How many people are moving? Yeah, I just read something last night that this year only 7% of the people in America moved this year. It's normally averaging like 13%, only 7, because nobody wants to leave their 3.5% mortgage interest rate and take a 7%. It's crazy. People are staying put. That's why there's no inventory, no houses for sale. Why houses are still so expensive, because there's no inventory. But you look at like the reports and the studies and movers. I love new movers. If they just moved to the area, they're you can buy new movers lists that people that make 100 grand a year that just left this state went to that state. They need a lot of new things, services. New homeowners, they just bought a house, maybe they want to inspect the roof, air conditioners. There's just so much opportunity out there with new movers. That's a big market.
Yeah, and if any of you have a desire to purchase data, we have access to some premium data where you can get access to mobile phone numbers, LinkedIn addresses, contact information. So we've got some connections where we can hook you up with some very, very high quality data and some strategies to approach those individuals using social media and email and phone and all those things. So
You know, I was sitting with the owner of Temecula Mercedes a few years ago, and he used to be part owner in Fletcher Jones Mercedes, the biggest car dealer in the world by revenue, not by unit. They sell 700 Mercedes a month, average 100 grand a car. It's unbelievable. Like they're huge in Newport Beach. And this guy was part owner, and he left and he bought and opened Temecula Mercedes right down the street. And we were talking about who your target audience, and he said something to me. He goes, Jeff, when people try to buy a $700,000 track house in Temecula, a lot of times they don't qualify because of their big car payments. So what we find is people will sell off their cars to get rid of their $700 car payment, go buy the house. As soon as they buy the house and the mortgage closes, they run out and buy a Mercedes and take that car payment back on. So can you find me new homeowners in Temecula that bought $700,000 homes in the last 90 days? I'm like, absolutely, turn that on, man. They sold a lot of Mercedes. So there's another example of a good list with a good offer and good timing, because people are ditching their cars. They're selling their car just to qualify for the mortgage payment, right? Because they have all that debt. And you guys know probably debt to income ratio, you can only have 42% of your gross income can go to your house and your bills. So they downsize. But as soon as they close that home loan, they're running out to get that car and put that new car in the driveway, show off to their friends, right? The neighborhood. They might drive a beater until they get in, but it's really interesting timing and data. And that's a Mercedes dealer and new homeowners in Temecula. So
yeah. Well, as we move on with our questions, question number 9 is what industry or niche are your ideal clients primarily involved in? So, we've targeted specific niches or industries that have an area that we have previous experience in from a consulting perspective. And again, that doesn't limit us to work with people that are not in those industries or in those niches, but it gives us an opportunity to focus our messaging and our offer and our content and our copy. And we can target ads a little bit better if you know what industry you would end up having a good connection. And again, that goes back to your satisfied clients. If you have some satisfied clients from a particular industry or niche, then you could target that down a little bit deeper. Question number 10 is what are the communication preferences of your ideal clients? Email, phone calls, social media, messaging. Any feedback on that, Jeff? Because I know that this is a challenge these days. I mean, with do not call lists and spam and other tactics that are kind of limiting or preventing us from reaching out to our target audience. How would you approach the idea of communication preferences?
I'll tell you a funny story. I bought a 2016 Audi RS7 from Hohen Audi in Carlsbad. And I bought it used. It was like 2 years old. I spent 75 grand on it. So the dealer probably made 8 or 9,000 profit. And they started emailing me to death afterwards, not just for Audi, but they're emailing me from their Mercedes dealer, the Land Rover, the service department, the parts department. And I got like 5 emails like the first 2 weeks. So I opt out. When I opted out to receive their email, I never heard from them again for 5 years. It was crazy. So I called, the general manager of Audi Carlsbad, Hohen, and said, you sell a $75,000 used car, you make $8,000, and because I opt out of email, you never talk to me again? Like, that's crazy. Wouldn't you want to? Why don't you give me all the unsubscribes? You have 10,000 emails and 4,000 unsubscribed, and let's direct mail the 4,000 that you can't reach through email. Or do not call us. You can't call them. You can't email them. So we got to reach these people, and he didn't buy off on it. It was a good idea. But I took that idea to hundreds of car dealers around the nation. They're like, you're right. We're spending a half a penny emailing someone that we're making $5,000 on a car and maybe another 5,000 in the service department. And once they opt out of our emails, no more communication. That's crazy. Let's get all the opt outs. And let's do some other form. Like, let's do some direct mail. It's more expensive,. It's a way to reach them.
Yeah, so true. So many opportunities to be thinking about, areas where, I mean, I didn't even think about that as a way to, if a person unsubscribed from an email, that would make them a target for an opportunity for direct mail, and those things could be cross-referenced. Here's question number 11. What are the buying behaviors or patterns of your ideal clients? Frequency of purchase, preferred payment methods. Obviously, that can lead to more targeted marketing around particular options of methods of paying. What are the primary goals or aspirations of your ideal clients? And how does your business align with them? So now we're talking about the opposite of pain and problems. We're now talking about goals and aspirations or pleasures of an ideal client. So you want to make sure we have that question answered. What are the common objections or hesitations your ideal clients might have about purchasing your product or service? And how can you address them? Augustine, I don't know if that would be something that you could speak on, but I would love to hear some perspective firsthand of what are some of the common objections or hesitations that people that are buying a new roof or doing roof repair would typically have? Is it incomplete work? Is it costs? What would be the thing that would be the most common objections or hesitations?
Right. I want to make sure I understand your question right. If it's the objection about them buying from us specifically, some of the things that I usually hear is we need to think about it, or I need to discuss it with my spouse or significant other, or, the price point might is not within our budget. And so, uh, is that was that the
Yeah.
question you asked?
Mhm.
Yeah. So on those objections, typically what I do is I repeat back to them what they just shared, and make sure that I'm understanding them, so that I can provide solutions. Um, but what I found is, uh, so the way I deal with it now again is I try to understand them, and I try to discover what the real objection is, because a lot of times what they're saying is not, there's really something behind that, right? So then I try to discover what the real objection is, and then see if we can offer a solution for them. Sometimes we can, and sometimes they won't tell us, or they're just not ready. But that's what I come across, and again, we solve it by just trying to really identify what the actual objection is, and solve a problem.
That's great. Yeah, Jeff and I were interviewing an employment agency and talking about, if we were to hire somebody from them and that person didn't work out or that person quit, and before we even got to that point, they addressed that issue with a guarantee that said they would guarantee and replace somebody. So it was obvious to me that that organization had a hesitancy or an objection around what happens if it doesn't work out. So they addressed it right into their sales presentation when they're presenting us with the options or the solutions. They're saying, "Hey, we're going to replace that person, guaranteed. It's part of the deal." The next question is, what feedback or testimonials do you have from past clients that can provide you insights into your ideal client profile? And so I love a strategy around having a 2-question survey when you are bringing on a new client or you're servicing a client, having that 2-question survey. The survey is number one, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, how would you grade our service? And then the second question is, if you didn't give us a 10, what can we do to become more like a 10? Or what could we do to improve our service to be more like a 10? And then you can have an opportunity for more dedicated feedback, but that's a great strategy, not only to solicit referrals. What I have learned is that if a person doesn't give you a 7 or higher on the score, then you're likely not going to get a referral. And I love the quote that says, all clients or customers are not created equal. There are a certain number of clients that become VIPs, very important people. And if you treat them extra special, they will treat you really well by referring you and introducing you or giving you shout outs on social media. So having a format of asking questions and surveying your best clients or all clients will give you more information into your target audience. And then the final one is, how do your ideal clients perceive your competitors, and what factors differentiate your business in their eyes? So I know that, a lot of times, Jeff, when we're talking to business owners, they're very confident that their customer service is better than their competition. But oftentimes their competition is saying that their customer service is better. The business owner knows that they're better, but the individual prospective client or customer doesn't know. Anything you want to share on that?
My direct mail advertising company had 65% gross margins when the average has 40. So how do I get those extra 25 points so I can actually turn a profit and be a profitable business versus like breaking even and working for nothing, or one little problem and you all the profit for the year goes out the door, a lawsuit or a refund or a bankruptcy from a client that didn't pay us. So I focusing on fatter margins was a lot of it was the customer service department and the fact that we would talk to our customers more often. Um, a lot of that got built into, hey, we have to call customers back within 4 hours, not like wait 2 days. People get so mad, they call, there's an issue. The salespeople's hiding under their desk, they don't want to call them back, they don't want to email. So customer service allowed us to have a fatter margin, and the clients knew that. And they went out and experienced going to cheaper companies that just didn't have the service level to fix problems when they came up. So that was a big part of I think our success of keeping customers and keeping them at a higher margin, which is tough, when there's 20 roofers in Houston and they're going with the lowest bidder and all you're doing is a bunch of quotes, that gets annoying. Um, yeah. So I think creating your USP, your unique selling proposition, what is that? What makes you different than the 20 other companies, and service is kind of generic. Oh, we have better service. Everybody probably says that, but really drilling down, um, yeah, I went to a copywriting seminar one time. Alan Rosenspan, amazing guy from like Boston area, and he took out a pencil and he handed the pencil like a number 2 regular pencil to everybody in the audience, and he says, "Tell me the benefits of this pencil." It's like, well, you can write with it. It's got an eraser. You can erase, right? By the time we were done, like a 30-minute, there was over 100 benefits of the pencil. It's like you can pencil fight, you can use it to, put a hole. And it was just crazy. You can hold up your hair with it. And it was like really digging into your business and finding out what your unique selling proposition and features and benefits. It was interesting. And that was about writing copy and making you stand out from the crowd of all the different benefits of your product. It was a good drill to look at. So
Yeah, well, I appreciate the opportunity to share with all of you today. I hope that you all generated some good feedback in regards to your own personal business target audience. I hope that this has been a helpful exercise for you, and would love to be able to have more of you taking a look at some of the things that we are posting inside of our platform. We've got lots of helpful tools and resources that you can go in there and access. And so I'll just give you a quick little reminder is that if you want to download the Business Optimizer, which is the tool that we've been walking through the questions, where it has lots of different resources and tabs, you can see the link here at the top of my screen. You can also go in there and complete our free business assessment on our website at growmyprofit.com. We've got lots of resources that we can guide you through once we know a little bit more about where you're at and where you want to go and what your biggest pains and problems are. And then if you want to take a look at more resources in our Scale University, you can visit the website down below. So all of these websites are all of this resource information is available just by going to growmyprofit.com. But if you want to get more specific resources and you want to get access to our business assessment, take a look at the links here on the screen. And we look forward to seeing you at the next session. All of these sessions are going to be recorded and they will be located in the virtual platform. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us at support@growmyprofit.com. So Jeff, thanks so much for your education and expertise, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next session.
thanks, guys.
Take care.
Appreciate it.